What's up, my comic comrades? This year feels like it's been moving at warp speed, and believe it or not, Halloween is already just a few short days away. Well, that being the case, today we're going to be focusing on a character who feels right at home on All Hallows Eve. Shadowman. On top of being one of our favorite characters from the Valiant universe, we learned back in February that this powerful voodoo wielder is set to return with a brand new title for Valiant Entertainment, and the creative team of writer Cullen Bunn, artist John Davis Hunt, colorist Georgie Belair, and letterer Clayton Cowles. In fact, the book was supposed to drop back in May, but like many things this year, it was postponed due to the pandemic. But thanks to our good friends over at Valiant, we're not only here to give you an exclusive sneak peek at Shadowman issue 1, but at the end of the episode, we're also going to be revealing the new release date for the issue. So, let's get into it. For you regular watchers, you probably remember that we actually gave you an Origin of Shadowman episode back in August. However, if you haven't seen it, you can check that out right here. And for those of you who aren't super familiar with Shadowman, he's a young man from New Orleans named Jack Boniface, who's the latest in a long lineage of supernatural protectors. And just like all previous Shadowmen in his bloodline, he draws his mystical abilities from the incredibly powerful voodoo spirit called Shadow Loa. As the human avatar of the Shadow Loa, Shadowman works alongside the secret occult organization known as the Abettors to battle all kinds of demonic forces and defend the world of the living from the world of the dead. Bottom line, he's one of the coolest characters in the Valiant universe, especially if you're a fan of mystic and supernatural characters and stories. And there are a number of great stories for his comic book history you can and should check out, several of which we list in our Origin of Shadowman episode. But it's been almost 2 years since his last solo title, so let's see where things pick up for Jack Boniface and Shadowman issue 1. As the issue begins, we find ourselves looking at New Orleans with a narration about the reality of the dead side, which of course is the name for the world of the dead. Shadowman calls it the space between worlds, a boneyard of the living realm, a reflection hidden beyond a veil we can see and hear, smell, taste, and touch. The veil of reality. He goes on to say that deep down in our souls, we all know there's a real darkness out there, under our beds, in the eyes of strangers, just around the corner. But the veil protects us. Then on the following page, we see Shadowman battling a demon from the dead side. As he explains, if that darkness were ever to be revealed, the truth might murder us all. We then learn that this demon somehow crossed over to the live side and has been murdering masqueraders for the past week, including several we see savagely murdered on the ground. As Shadowman continues to fight the monster, it begins demanding that Jack tell him where she is. But Jack has no idea who or what the demon is talking about and wastes no time in slitting the demon's throat. And just before the demon dies, he tells Shadowman that he must find and help this mysterious woman because she isn't ready for the horrors of this world. Now, quite confused, Jack says, "I don't even know who you're looking for or where to start." But a voice suddenly responds saying, "But I do." We then see that the response came from Baron Samedi, aka the King of Death, or Loa of the Dead. And if the title doesn't give it away, this isn't a good guy. In fact, he's a serious enemy of Shadowman. But we learn that Samedi has been manifesting to Jack on several occasions more recently, bringing him secrets, like a supernatural confidential informant. Something that obviously has Jack extremely suspicious. But he says, keep your enemies close, I suppose, and pray that whoever drove them to stand by your side isn't as awful as they think it is. Baron then continues to imply that he knows who is responsible for the demon's bloody visit to the live side. And Jack angrily responds by saying, "If you got something useful to tell me, get on with it." Baron then tells Jack to not get all worked up because he has a party to attend. We then jump forward in time a bit to find ourselves at a plantation-style mansion and the masquerade party Baron was referring to. And as we see the guests being served glasses of what looks like blood, a mysterious woman begins to greet her guests from the top of the stairway saying, "We have such wonders in store for you tonight. You've all proven yourselves too vibrant and insightful and dynamic to be contained to just one world. Tonight, with your help, I shall throw open the doors to the great beyond. I shall rip the mask away from the hereafter. We shall stare like gods into eternity, together." Spooky mansion, people in creepy masks tossing back some chilled blood, and visions of crossing over into another dimension. You know, just another Friday night. Anyway, we then see a creepy old lady head down to a massive lower room full of mirrors where a bunch of people are undressing, being covered in blood. Again, that is always a good sign. That's just what you want to see. The host begins to encourage the now blood-soaked group, telling them that there is a packed house above and that everyone is counting on them. She reminds them this is what they prepared for, saying, "We will stride, anointed, into another realm. And like shepherds, we will bring two worlds together." One more time, never a good plan. We then jump outside the mansion to see Shadowman arriving with Baron Samedi. As they look on at the house, Baron explains that the estate is owned by Elsbeth Martinique. He tells Shadowman that back in the day, she and her late husband used to throw what he describes as the most diabolical soirees and that they danced a time or two. I believe the dance in question might be the no pants dance, but Let's move on. Baron then says that it looks like Elsbeth is back to her old tricks with some kind of demonic ritual. So Shadowman turns back into his human self and starts to head towards the door. But Baron refuses to go with him, making the excuse he's not one for overdue reunions. So Jack begins to head in alone, but he can't help but wonder what had Samidi so spooked, especially considering he's an ancient and high-ranking spirit in the voodoo pantheon. We then see Jack entering the mansion and slowly working his way through the party, commenting along the way about the reality of the masks. He says they don't hide who you really are. Quite the opposite, in fact. Masked, protected by anonymity, you're free to be your true self. And for some reason, that's uglier than any novelty horror mask. Let's just pause right there to acknowledge that that's a dope line of dialogue. All right. Moving on. Jack then grabs one of the glasses being served and smells it, saying, blood, and not human blood. He then spots the door that leads to the underground room and begins to descend the stairs, saying, the air is musky, stale, but it tingles too. The stink of inhuman blood seasons the ether. Now sensing something is seriously wrong, Jack summons the Shadow Loa and transforms back into Shadowman. And we see Elsbeth encouraging the blood-covered men and women, each standing in front of a mirror, to cross over to the other side. That's some Bloody Mary type crap right there. We then see a stunned Shadowman looking on, saying, they're trying to breach the barrier between the earthly realm and the dead side. He goes on to say each mirror is a window looking into a different aspect of the other realm. They hear the siren's call of the forbidden. I know it myself all too well. And as he's saying this, we simultaneously see several of the naked, blood-soaked ritual participants step through the mirrors, crossing to the other side. But that cliffhanger is where our sneak peek at Shadowman issue 1 ends, my comic comrades. We have read the rest of the issue, and believe me when I tell you, you want to see how it concludes. The twisted, creepy horror aspect of this issue and where it ends up is just a crap ton of fun. So now you're asking, so when can I get my hands on it? Well, as promised, we're excited to announce that Shadowman 1 will officially arrive in April of 2021. Yes, I know that's a long time to wait to find out what happens next, but it's gonna be worth it. And in the meantime, get caught up on your Shadowman mythos by reading issues 1 through 11 of his 2018 series. We'll drop a link for that in the description. Other than that, we want to send a big thanks to Valiant Entertainment for letting us bring this exclusive preview of Shadowman 1 to you, the Variant Nation. Make sure to show them some love and let us know what you thought of issue 1 so far in the comment section down below. First up for the week of the 28th, we have Batman Beyond issue 48. Something is very, very wrong with Bruce Wayne as he lashes out in anger and tries to kill Batman Beyond. Next, we have Flash issue 764. Sitting idle in Iron Heights prison for years, Dr. Alchemy found the time and knowledge he needed to finally beat the Flash once and for all, in a battle of wits and scientific knowledge as much as speed and power. Here we have Black Widow, Widow's Sting issue 1. If you've ever wanted to read Black Widow, this is your chance, starting with a new number 1. And in this issue, something is very wrong with the criminal underworld. Silvermane is making his move, so S.H.I.E.L.D. has sent in an agent to investigate, but they've disappeared. So now it's time to call in the heavy hitters. And finally, we have Batman 3 Jokers issue 3. This is it, guys, the finale to Batman 3 Jokers, a story 5 years in the making. Are we gonna get all the answers we've been waiting for? Like, has there always been 3 Jokers? And if so, why is there 3 Jokers? We're gonna find out. And just like that, that's gonna bring another episode of Variant to a close. But if you like today's Valiant themed episode, be sure to check out this one right here. And if you like our channel, as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. It helps us out. But other than that, I'll see you guys next time when I talk about all things comics.